Hey guys, this is part 2 of my 2017 Chevy Bolt EV Premier review. If you haven't done so already, please go and watch part 1, and the commentary in this first section of the video will make more sense. Because I drive this car every day, I can hear the sounds of the road really well, and when I drive our 2018 Traverse, sometimes that vehicle can feel quieter, but the engine is always humming in the background and you don't hear the tires against the road. But when people sit in this car, if I have a passenger with me, 100% of them, if they comment on the quality of the car, they comment on how quiet it is, how smooth it is, and just how well it drives. And they always ask me, what kind of car is this? It's really nice. And that's where I get to explain to them the virtues of the Chevy Bolt. But I don't think I've ever ridden in the back seats, but passengers are always telling me that it's super comfortable. The back seats aren't huge, but I've been able to fit 2 car seats and a booster seat in the back. So if you've got 3 youngish kids, when my kids were 6, 4, and 1, we could fit all of them in this car. And there was a while when this was our primary car when our minivan needed repairs. We drove this car everywhere we went with 5 of us, and it wasn't an issue whatsoever. I often hear people complain about the size of cars and why they need to buy large SUVs for their 2-person family. And quite frankly, this car works perfectly fine if you're a 5-person family. And we used 28.5-inch wide narrow car seats that are designed to go 3 across the back in vehicles. So that's pretty cool too. And of course now we have a Traverse. It's a big vehicle. It drives differently to this, and I understand why people want them for their families. But if you have a 5-person family and you're not planning to grow your family, this car will work just fine as your primary car for going back and forth. We live 30 miles from the city. We were going to church physically in Minneapolis. So when we took our minivan, that trip was costing us like a quarter-ish of a tank every time we made that trip. And it was just more efficient for us to use this car going into town. And some people thought it looked funny and said, get a minivan. And we're like, we have one, we just don't use it. And part of that was because it was broken, and part of that was just this car is more fun to drive and more fun to be in. And my kids love this car too. Now that they are a little bit older, they can be a little bit close. They're loud, and my wife and I don't like noise that much. But it's a great car even if you're a family. The way that my wife and I look at it is, we have this car for when we're driving around town, whether it's one of us or we're with the kids. And the Traverse we use it more than we did the minivan, because the minivan was just not in very good shape. It had 176,000 miles. And we use the Traverse to do a trip up to Duluth. And most families are going to have 2 cars anyway. But back to the main point, this is a great car to have to drive to where you need to go. When I do business and I'm driving 40 minutes across town, I don't want to use a quarter of a gas tank to go do this meeting that might last 30 minutes to an hour and use all of that gas and then come back home. When I can drive this car, it's more comfortable. It's got great range. I can plug it in when I get home or overnight, depending on whether I need additional range during the day. And it just works for everything that you do. And then let's talk about that charging thing for a while. That's another thing that I hear a lot about the Chevy Bolt and electric cars. And people are going to say, oh, electric cars, it's unacceptable. It's going to take you 3 days to charge. First of all, you shouldn't anyway, drive your car all the way down to 0 and then plug it into a trickle charger. Of course, that's going to take you forever. If you're going to buy an electric car, plan things out. If your jurisdiction doesn't give you any kinds of rebates for installing level 2 chargers, just include that in your budget. Call some electricians, find out how much it costs to install a level 2 charger in your home. You can buy a level 2 charger off of eBay or Amazon for less than $500. That's what we did. And then where we live in Anoka County, Connexus is our energy provider. They gave us a $500 rebate. So our charger ended up being free And then we just paid, I think it was around $1,000 for the installation. So you plan these things out, like let's just use our brains. And I know people like to say that because it causes controversy, but it's really silly. Even when we had just bought this car and we didn't have the EVSE installed yet, I was able to drive it for our local things that we needed to do, go to the grocery store, take the kids here and there. And then once a week I would drive to the fast charger at Connexus, do a fast charge, get it to 80%, drive for a week, do a fast charge. So you can actually own this car without a level 2 charger. You go to work from, let's call it 7:30 to 6 p.m. You get home, you plug it in, it's going to charge at 4 miles per hour for around 8 to 12 hours. You're easily going to add 32 miles a day to the car with just a trickle charge if you plug it into the 12-volt outlet anyway. And the average American drives less than 30 miles a day. That's 900 miles per month. So you can actually do that, but obviously I just don't recommend it because it can cause inconveniences in your life that you don't need, and then the car becomes a hindrance instead of a blessing. But I really strongly dislike those arguments when people says, well, the electric car takes forever to charge. Yes, it takes forever to charge if you are dumb. If you use your brain, it's not going to take forever to charge. It's going to be charged 100% every morning when you wake up. And if you're a normal person, even someone who drives as much as I do, I drive more than the normal person, you're not driving 240 miles 7 days a week, guys. Just think about it and be logical when you make these types of decisions. So guys, the real question that you want to know is, who is the Chevy Bolt good for? Who should buy a Chevy Bolt and who should not buy a Chevy Bolt? What are some reasons that you wouldn't buy one? So I'm gonna start with the no camp. So if I lived in an apartment, I would have to think really hard about buying the Chevy Bolt in particular, just because of the charging situation. It can work if you don't drive a lot like I do. If you're the typical American and you drive 30 miles a day, even in a cold place like Minnesota, in theory, you could charge enough at fast chargers like you do at gas stations to fill up your car once a week and be able to get along with this car. Another category of people who I would not recommend the Chevy Bolt EV to are people who do a lot of road trips. So I often hear, well, road trips take forever in a Chevy Bolt or in electric cars. Yes, it's true that they're going to take longer than your internal combustion car that you can fill up with gas, because filling up with gas is usually a shorter process. But when my wife and I travel with our kids, when we stop to fill up for gas, that's usually at least a 30-minute stop anyway. We go in, use the bathroom, eat, the kids whine and want to get snacks. So that's time where you could be charging the car. But if you're one of those outlier people who goes on a road trip every single week and you drive 1,000 miles on your road trip every day and you need to go 6 hours straight and you don't stop for any reason whatsoever, then an electric car isn't for you. If you're not a problem solver, if you're not a solution seeker, if you don't know how to plan your days and how to plan your life, then an electric car isn't for you. You have to be able to plug it in every night or every couple of nights if you drive like a normal person. I charge every night because I don't drive like a normal person. You need to, when you get in the car, check out how much range you have and how far you intend on driving, and make sure that you have enough range to get all of your activities done and to be able to get home or to be able to get into a charger. So if you can't think about things like that, just don't get an EV. Get something that doesn't require any thought whatsoever to operate. That would be my recommendation. But for everyone else, for people who have access to decent charging infrastructure and you're able to do even a little bit of planning in your life, the Chevy Bolt is a great car to buy and a great car to own and to operate. There aren't many downsides outside of the ability to plug it in at night. The car drives really well. The prices on used Bolts are now at a really good price point where they are, I would say, more competitive than a similar internal combustion engine vehicle. So there are a lot of savings that you get for owning a Bolt. And comment below if you'd like me to talk about how much money I save by owning a Bolt. I would recommend this car to almost anybody, especially if you own a home and you don't go on road trips every weekend. Then the Bolt is going to work just fine for you. If you're one of those people who goes on a million road trips and you just need a car with like 800 miles of range and you can charge it from 0 to full in like 28 minutes, then look at Teslas, I guess. If I was going to be road tripping a lot, honestly, I would have been a lot more inclined to spend the extra money to get a Tesla Model 3. Because of their quick charging capabilities. They charge at this point 2 to 3 times faster than the Chevy Bolt EV does. But we did the math on this, and so in theory, living in the Twin Cities, if we wanted to drive to Duluth, Minnesota, which is exactly 150 miles from my house, and we like to go up the North Coast also, there are multiple points between the Twin Cities and Duluth where you can stop, charge, and eat. And then in the city of Duluth itself, there are places where you can charge the car, eat, and there are hotels all along the north shore of Superior where you can have destination charges and charge your car overnight. And with a 240-mile range, you're not going to have any problems whatsoever driving up to Duluth, charging your car, and driving home and only having one charging stop, especially if you do an overnight destination charge. One of my wife and I's goals is to eventually go all electric and have just an ICE car as a backup. So that would be getting something like a Tesla Model X with 7 seats. It's kind of like a stretch goal of ours that we want to do down the line. But we don't like the gull-wing doors on that thing, so but that's a whole nother conversation. So guys, I hope you like this review. Comment, and if you got any value from this video or from any of my other videos, please like and subscribe. That helps the channel grow, and I'll continue providing you with great content. Have a great day, everyone.